Really? Oh boy. Well, we are going to start this and I have to restart this thing because it wants to be difficult. Come on. There we go. All right. Sorry, I'm late, everybody. All right. But I'm here. Okay. Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. All right. Oh, so good. I have missed you guys too. I totally have. I'm doing great. I am running around as usual and trying to get this thing to come on so I can see the comments as they're coming in. I don't really have a topic for tonight, but I was going to talk about motivation, and I was going to talk about knowing your credentials, because I see a lot of misrepresentation of medical coder credentials lately, and it needs to stop. Because it's people are already confused about our profession as it is. So we need to be clearly like communicating what we are and what we do. And it is also very important to know what these credentials are and what they're capable of. And the thing about it too is I see some people, and I've heard it in the last couple of weeks, some degree holders. Oh, well, I want a degree. I don't want just a credential. Well, let's figure this out, okay? So having a credential does not make you less than when it comes to degree holders. It really all depends on what you want to do. If you are wanting to be in a leadership position, which a lot of degree holders don't know that is what that is for. Those degree designations, the RHIA or the RHIT, the Registered Health Information Administrator, the bachelor's degree, the Registered Health Information Technician, that is the associate's degree. Now, these are our leaders. Now, some people will tell me, well, Blue, I don't want to be a leader, but they said that it was the best way for me to make the most money. Well, if you're looking at getting into medical coding for money, you're in the wrong, because you should never get into this field for the money. If you do, you will be miserable. We do make very good money. However, when your only drive is about money, that kind of takes away a lot of things that make this career great. You're not concentrating where you should be concentrating, is what I'm trying to say. So, that I want to make sure that it's cleared up. But our degree holders are our leaders. They don't code. And while some of the associate's degree people do code because they do a lot of like the auditing and things like that, the coding portion of the RHIT program is very small compared to everything else that they're learning, which is about leadership and about, communicating and dealing with the human resource side of the house, So that's something that, when you're speaking, you really want to be able to speak knowledgeably about your profession. Because when I hear things like that, I know that that's a person who has unconscious incompetence. Now, we all have it. At one point or another, before you get into like your field and before you get into your craft, you are unconsciously incompetent. I know, I will say, I was unconsciously incompetent when I first started because I said, oh, medical coding, oh, I don't deal with needles, because I knew everything, right? Well, that's why, now we have this wonderful thing called the internet where you can learn more about what you're doing and you could speak more intelligently about what you're doing. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. All right, so let me get to my video so I can pull up the comments as they're coming in. All right. 6 weeks without live. Do you guys miss me? Because I missed y'all. It's been a very busy last month, month and a half, just about. Um, but it's always a good thing. It's always a good thing. It's a good thing to be busy. But let's get this to open up. Thank you very much. And all right. Okay. And I'm on mute? Yeah, I am. All right. Z says, hi, Blue. How are you? I've missed you. I miss you too. Christine, I miss you too. Z says, ooh, I need this motivational chat. Good. Hi, Rebecca. Thank you for all the blue hearts. Hi, Sandra. Okay. This thing wants to pop up a ad in my face. Come on now. Hi, Mitney. I'm doing great. Oh, Mitney. So I was on last night and my phone decided to go kaput before I could look at what I had sent. And I sent this like weird off the wall message. I'm like, oh, I hope they don't think something was wrong with me. But literally my phone went off right at the same time. And so, because I used a little thing to, instead of like typing in, I just kind of moved. Yeah. And so if you got a weird message, that was why. All right. But to answer your question, I am doing great. Okay. So, all right. Come on. I don't want it to go there. So we're just going to pop ads up so that it moves the thing around. Come on, man. All right. So I want to thank Tressa for sending me this awesome t-shirt. It says, underestimate me. That'll be fun. I get underestimated a lot. And the part of the motivation that I want to talk about today is when people underestimate you. Now, yes, I accept it. I accept it. People are going to underestimate me. Even people that I respect have told me, Blue, I underestimated you. Should I have been offended? Not really. Because I know my own skill. And when you know your own skill and you know your worth and you know your capabilities, which I know I am far capable of doing a lot more than people expect me to. These things don't bother me because I'm always going to do things that I think are going to push me forward. And I have. And so I have to thank Tressa for the shirt. This is awesome. But I wear this tonight in her honor. I do wear t-shirts occasionally, which we had this discussion before. I wear t-shirts like when I'm at home or, you know, even when I'm out shopping and walking around and stuff like that, I will wear t-shirts. It's when I'm at work that I dress up. So this is one of the rare occasions where I will, you know, wear a t-shirt because it's nice, it's comfortable. It is Friday the 13th, and this is my first live in 6 weeks. So all right, guys, so let's get into it. Now, staying motivated, whether you are working, whether you are, you know, in the field or whether you are studying, it's hard to stay motivated. What are our goals? And that's what we need to focus on. Because when you have your goals in front of you, that's going to make you, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. When I think about setting goals and doing all those things, I think about last year. Last year I did quite a few things. There's a lot of things that are going on this year as well that I'm not talking about right now because it's not time yet. But last year when I was on my journey to getting the CCSP and getting the CCS and completing my CDI boot camp with HC Pro, that took a lot of self-motivation. I had to think about what was motivating me in those times when I did feel tired. Between the channel, between work, working for a full 40-hour-a-week job, and doing all the tutoring and resume rewrites and everything. And resume rewrites, I had started doing back last year. I mean, it really did start taking off last year. So, but that was more towards the end of the year. And so doing that, I was like, okay, I'm trying to juggle all of these things. And how do I stay motivated when, you know, I get tired too? Well, I have to keep in mind all the things that I want. And for me, I know that coming from having only the CCA and how people look at the CCA and how I wanted to promote what a CCA is capable of, because a lot of people, again, underestimate the CCA, and it pisses me off to no end, because how can you underestimate somebody who knows inpatient and outpatient coding just because it says entry level on the credential name? Do you even know anything about that person? No. And so that's where I was just like, I wanted to hang on to it as long as I could. However, having you all is part of my motivation, and my audience grows and grows, and I've grown leaps and bounds from last year. And I think I was only at 7,000 something in the beginning of last year, and now I'm at 18,000. This is all organically grown. I don't have to pay for my channel to be pushed out. But whatever. So I had to think about, okay, if these people are following me and listening to me, what am I promoting when I only have the CCA? I've had it long enough. It's time for me to move on from it. And that's when I said, okay, I need to move on to the CCSP, which is the mastery of the outpatient setting only. And so I got it. I walked right through that challenge, and I did it. And getting that wind off of that high of, hey, I did this. I studied hard and I did it, and I believed in me, because you have to really believe in yourself first before you can count on anybody else to believe in you, because there's not always going to be somebody around that's going to cheer you on and believe in you and say, hey, you've got this, and I get plenty of support, but I know that sometimes it can be fleeting. A person can be with you one day and then gone the next. And so that's where it's just like, okay, I have to learn to rely on me. And when I have that, okay, if I can count on anybody, it's myself. All right, this is something that I can work with, because I know for me, I can always tell me, yeah, you can. And when I do that, yes, I can. Okay, I'm going to be able to do this. So those late nights where I'm studying, or, those times when I feel frustrated because I don't understand something, or thinking, do I know enough on this other side? Am I going to be able to get past this? And going through those times, I made it, And so getting through that first one, getting through the CDI boot camp, that was more motivation, because I was like, okay, now I finished this program. It was a 60-day boot camp, So I don't recommend 60-day boot camps for people who have no knowledge of the subject. I know a bit about CDI. However, going through this, it did help me. But if I was somebody brand new and didn't know anything, I would be just as lost, So I don't recommend that for people, because sometimes it can be defeating, when you get something like that. When you're basically in that time, if you're in over your head, then you're in over your head. Medical coding is something that people can learn when they put their minds to it. It just seems like a lot. And because medical coding welcomes so many people in at different times of their life, some people it's their first career, some people it is their third career, it really all depends. But when it is your first career, or when it is you going back to school after so many years, it takes you, because again, not everybody's going to see your vision, how you see it and how you think of it and how you want to envision your career going, okay? Because you will have people who will try to keep you down. Again, hello, the shirt. And you will have people who will say, oh, you can't do it. You can't. Yeah, you can. You can do anything that you want to do. But it's up to you. And it takes discipline. It takes hard work. And people who spend time improving themselves are the ones that come out the winners on the end. Because it takes learning. People don't know what they don't know. But until you start taking the time to ask questions and get out there, you don't ever want to stay in the same place. You want to keep improving your life, and you want to keep improving your career. So that's what I will say about that. Now, when it comes to knowing what you have and your credentials and what you're capable of, for me, I knew with the CCA, I knew that I was only going to be able to go so far. I can't do certain things because that credential is considered entry level, and there was going to be a lot of roadblocks. There was some roadblocks for things that I wanted to do, but for others, it was just like, okay, you're a coder and you know what you're doing, so here you go. But for me, my calling is leading me towards something else, and I knew that having to leave that behind was going to be a necessary evil, so I did, and now that I have the CCS and the CCSP, This is motivation for you all as well, because if I can do it and I juggled all that stuff, you know, that's where you guys should be too. And keeping your goals in front of you, like I told you guys, for me, what I did when I was studying and doing all those things, I wrote it on my whiteboard. I wrote my name and I wrote my credentials on the whiteboard. And that was how I ended up getting them, because I saw it every day leaving my house. I would see it in the morning when I would get up, and I would see it in the morning, in the evening when I get home. And I'd still be up there, okay, I got to do this. But some people make it a habit of talking, and they talk a lot. And if you notice, back from those videos, I didn't talk about studying for the CCS. I only talked about the CCS after I got it. And the reason that I did that was because if you have other people that know what you want to do, then you're going to either get the competitive people that are going to try to compete with you and they're going to try to get in your head, or you're going to get people who are going to tell you, oh, no, you can't do that. Oh, no, I don't think that's right for you. I don't think that you would enjoy that. Well, who are you to think that? Again, don't underestimate people. And so that's where it's just like, okay, but you have to keep your goals and you have to keep what your plans are close to you. And would it be great if we had support? Yes. Would it be great if we could talk about what we want to do? Absolutely. Which you can, but you have to be very specific and very careful about who you share these things with. Because if I had told people, if I had announced, right, oh, I'm taking the CCS, you know how many questions I would have gotten about the CCS before I took the test? And then, oh, how many people would have told me, oh, I failed it, I didn't do well on it, so I don't know if you'll do well on it, or whatever. Again, everybody has different experiences, and we have to make ourselves mentally stronger. There's a lot of people who overthink things. I get a lot of overthinkers that comment on my channel all the time, and I recognize it and I see it. And part of being a medical coder is we tend to overthink, you know, and sometimes we do. We'll sit there and we'll be like, okay, it's this this code and this code and this code, okay, and then we'll have that little voice, is it, and we start to overthink. It's the same thing when you're choosing a career. People will start doing their research and they get excited about it, and then they start seeing, hey, it's not easy to get a job. Hey, I failed my test. Hey, I paid out all this money and I went to this school and they didn't treat me right and they didn't do this, they didn't do that. And all of a sudden, it just becomes, I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't want to spend all of this money in this investment to get into this situation. It's like when you're getting married, right? You're getting married, you get into a relationship with somebody. Do you know them? Well, Blue, I've been with my partner for years. Okay, you've been with your partner for years. But then when you get married, then things change, right? Well, did you know that going in? No, but you committed. You committed when you went in. It's the same thing when you go into a new career. You have to be committed. You're not going to know. Things may change. And you know, when you're in a relationship, you may be all this lovey-dovey in the beginning, but then your love starts to change, right? You start to show love in different ways. You start to express yourself in different ways. And hopefully that's a situation that you grow to love each other more, and not the opposite of where you grow to hate each other. You don't want to do that, you know, but sometimes that happens in life. You know, people get infatuated with certain things. It's like, it's the same thing that I see when people start to get into medical coding for money, which is why I don't ever talk about money on my channel. People still ask me, but I either delete the comment or I don't respond at all. I don't talk about money because that's the flashy part. Everybody knows medical coders make good money. I shouldn't have to talk about that. I want to talk about the things that are hard, the things that are going to drive you away because you're either scared of them, or you know, you think it's too hard, when in actuality you got to think of it in a different way. You got to think of it from a different perspective of, oh yeah, okay, this is, I know where I can find my answer now. I know where I can make it easier for myself. That's the work. It's the same thing with being with a partner, right? You know, maybe one day, you know, your partner may be going through something, and you know, maybe they lost somebody that was close to them, and it changes them, because grief will change you, and it doesn't matter how close you were to that person. Grief will change people. And as we get older and we start to experience grief, there's things that will change about the person and how they they view other people, how they view relationships. And again, it goes back to how do you handle those things? You have to be your own self motivator. And you have to know, okay, well, this is going to change, that's going to change. Same thing with coding. Coding went from ICD 9 to ICD 10. You want to talk about people having career grief? There were people when ICD 9 was closing down, like, I'm not going to learn something new. I spent so many years learning ICD 9. I'm not going to try to learn ICD 10. There was career grief there because people were like, no, I'm going to get out. And there was a lot of people who got out. And there was a mass exodus that a lot of people don't talk about. But I saw it in my area. We did have a mass exodus of people. There was like a few people that I knew that retired as soon as it changed over. They were like, I'm not doing this. And to me, when I stepped into ICD 10, I was like, okay. And I had the benefit of going through 2 different programs at the same time to learn ICD 10. So that's what helped me because it accelerated the process of learning. I wasn't just learning from one perspective. I was learning from a completely different perspective. And for what one program did not cover, the other program filled in with supplemental training and things like that. So that's what made it much more easier for me. Again, being willing to go into those things is, really, oh, hi, Anna, really important. But yeah, that's where, you have to be willing to accept things. So if you're thinking of, well, I want to get into this, but I don't know if I should get into it because of this XYZ that I heard. Stop hearing things, guys, and just go for it. If you spend more time concentrating on the things that you need to learn rather than things that people are saying or these other people who don't want you to get into it because for whatever reason they just don't want to see you succeed, if you'd stop listening to them and spend more time focused on what you need to do, you're going to be a lot more successful in the end. At least that's just my advice anyway. Because when I hear people and I'm like, are you even listening to yourself? I see some of these things and I have to get off of these. I even have to get off LinkedIn sometimes because I see this and you see them. You see them all over LinkedIn. I'm like, I'm gonna enough of LinkedIn for today because people look at things differently. But again, and I see it in them that they're not self-motivating. They're relying on other people to motivate them. And while it's great to have somebody that you can look to be motivational, like some people tell me, hey, Blue, I come to you because you're the motivator. You're the one who will give it to me like it is. Yes, because we're adults. Why do I need to sugarcoat things for you? Why do I need to tell you and hold your hand and say, oh, yes, I tell you it's going to be all right. But I also tell you that you got to do the work. I haven't had coffee all day. And I just made the coffee before I came on, which is why I was a little late. But it was worth it. All right. So, but yes, know your goals. Know what you want to do. Know where you want to go. And if you don't know, start looking. Start researching. And for us in medical coding, like I said, there's so many places for us to start. It's not just in one place. And knowing all of these different things like medical billing, prior authorizations, release of information, utilization review if you're coming from being a nurse, that's all great ways of getting those transferable skills to help you out when you do become a medical coder. But it's not impossible to, be a medical coder right out of the gate. It just takes some effort. I did have somebody that was commenting relentlessly about coming from being a nurse, wasn't even in a program yet, already complaining about not being able to find a job. You're not even in a program yet, and you're already thinking about all the negative stuff? Are you kidding me? This is probably not for you then. You have to be prepared, yes, but there's ways around it. There's having a good resume, being able to pass a background check and, all these other things, being able to pass an assessment test. And you do that by learning and studying your book, Oh, CB, I missed you too. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for the blue hearts. Yes, I know. It's been a long 6 weeks. It has. Because for me, in the first week that I wasn't doing this, I was just like, I'm forgetting to do something. I literally said that I'm forgetting to do something. And I'm like, it's 7:30. Okay, that's what it is. Because I have been so used to being at the lives and being either live or being there in the comment section, and then not doing that. So, but it has helped me, guys. I will have to say that it has helped me because I've had to do a lot of things this last month. April was very, very busy. It was not a joke. April seemed like it was a really long month, but I did do a lot of things in April, so I was very happy about that. The schedule is still going to stay kind of the same, where I'm going to do a live once a month. I will be at some of the premieres at night. I can't promise that I'll always be at all the premieres, but I will be here as much as I possibly can because you guys, just being around you guys gives me energy too. Some of the things that I get the comments from people when they say that, it was this one video that I have, they said this was a motivation I didn't know that I needed. But in that video, I will say that I was kind of feisty in that video. So, but for whatever reason, it works. So we're just going to stay with that then, don't ever let anybody tell you that what you're doing is wrong, okay? Whether it's what association you're trying to pick or what you want to do being a medical coder, don't let them tell you that's wrong, because there's a lot of people who will say that it's wrong. It's a wrong choice. You don't know. You don't know. People have had careers in this for decades now, okay? So, that's where we are. And as the pandemic showed us, though, things can change. Look at all in the food service industry. How many people were laid off in the food service industry when the pandemic first started? No one ever thought anything like that would happen, right? Because that's one of those things that doesn't go away. The need for people to eat doesn't go away. But the method of how they get served did change, start doing the drive-through and that kind of thing. So there's all of those things when you think about it. And you have to be prepared because sometimes things do change. And as you grow, like for me, as I grow, I know there's going to be a time when I'm not going to always do clinic coding. I'm not. There's going to be a time when I'm going to grow out of that. And I can see that for myself because I know where I want to go. And there's a lot of things that I still want to do. But I don't share them because then you start getting people's opinions, And to me, I don't want that poison to set in. And so that's why I withdraw from that poison. And everything will be out in the open as it gets there. The same thing like what happened with the CCS and CCSP. It happened. And then it was like, oh, wow, she did that? Yeah. Yeah, I did. Love how focused you are. And you know what? That's a discipline. It really is, because when you have your own internal thoughts, right? That you wonder, can you do this? Can you do this? When I will say that when I came out of the test for the CCS, that's the mastery. That's the one that you got to know. I mean, you really got to know, right? And even then, I was like, I know I studied hard, but then I know that there's a chance, a possibility, anything could happen. Now, I didn't barely pass. I passed with a couple of touchdowns. So I was good with that, But at the same time, my head was like, are we going to do this? Are we going to do this? Like, again, I'm walking out of there with sea legs, not being able to know what happened until they gave me that paper. And she's like, I'm very happy for you. Congratulations. I'm like, whoo. But that's where you have to be ready for those times. And sometimes people snowball that idea of, falling into, well, I can't do that. And I've always been this way. Well, the thing about always is that you can change. The thing that's constant in life, people, is change, and you can change for the better if you want to. It's up to you. If you want to be more disciplined, you can. If you want to get something, you can. You can think of all the things that motivate you. All the times where people were putting you down, or all the times where people was telling you that, you're not worth anything. And then you could be like, no, I am. I am worth a lot. I am worth more than, I get credit for, And I just will remind you guys, again, people look at me and they underestimate me all the time. And they tell me, oh, well, I didn't know that you could do that. Or I never thought that you could do that. Or I don't see you doing that. Or Blue, you said you cleaned houses before. Please, you look so prissy that you don't look like you ever picked up a trash bag. Oh no, trust me. I pump my own gas. I take out my own trash. I do the dishes. I do everything. So yeah, I do all of those things. Do I look professional when I'm at work? Yes. Those are the things. That's what you do when you're at work. But that's the thing. When I deliver phone books, there was this man who I worked in the office, and then in the evening, in the weekend, sometimes I would go help my mom. And the guy goes, I remember this. The guy goes, oh, he goes, I bet you never touched a phone book in your life. And I looked at him. I'm like, is this guy for real? And the supervisor, Pat, he was like, Blue. I go, let me tell you something, sir. He goes, oh, And I say, I deliver phone books. I've delivered thousands of sets of phone books. Trust me, I can sling phone books all day long with the best of them. So yeah, I don't know who you think you're talking to. I work in the office, yes, but do you see these muscles? These muscles are not here just for show. These muscles I got, on my own. I haven't done this in a while, so. But at the time, I was in the best physical condition of my life when I was like 18, 19 years old, 20 years old. Because we were just delivering phone books, and we were like, running with these 20, 50-pound bags, up 3 flights of stairs. When you deliver like in Dallas, or when you deliver like in these big cities where they have these 3-floor apartments, you're just running up and down those stairs, and they got like 4 units on every floor. And so you're just trying to carry 8 up the floor, and and so yeah, you get some muscle. But yeah, there's people that will say, oh, I never thought that you did something like that. But yeah, I do. Anna says, change is hard, but it's up to you. Question is how bad you really want it. And that's very true, because when you think about people who are only halfway into something, like they only put lukewarm energy into something that they say that they want. Oh, Blue, I want a new career. I want a new life. Okay, well, how long are you studying? Well, I just get so bored with reading, and I don't know if I can, I mean, you're making excuses. You don't want it bad enough. Oh no, Blue, I do want it. Okay, then now you need to start thinking of different ways, because you know that book reading is not helping you. Then there's also auditory, and there's also visual. So you need to pick one. Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah. So you got to get more creative. Your brain is going to start triggering, like, what's going on? Like, we don't like to read. Now you're going to put this show on for me to watch? Oh, okay. Oh, now I'm going to be listening to this? Oh, okay. So there's different ways of learning, but sometimes people just assume that it's going to be book work, and they don't get into that creative mindset that there's other things to do with it. Or they think that they have to go for long stretches of time. It's like people who try to go on these crash diets, and they think that if they starve themselves, that they will be able to lose a lot of weight. Well, what happens when you do that? You gain it all back. What happens when you go for long stretches of time when you're studying? You burn out like that. It doesn't take long to burn out, folks. It does not take long. That's why I always tell y'all, study for 50 minutes, 50, or 1 hour at a time, and take a break, 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and then get right back to it. Because your brain will be able to take those tiny changes and be like, okay, we're studying during this time. We only have to study for 15 more minutes, or we only have to study for 30 more minutes. We can do this. And that'll get you motivated. Okay? So, hi, NC. But yeah, so that's where, you have to think about, okay, I can change that. I can change that approach. And the same thing like with people who don't like to exercise. I don't like to exercise because they think they got to do all this strenuous stuff. And all you have to do is start walking. You know how much weight you can lose just from walking? It's the same thing, guys. It's just when you're thinking in different categories of life, whether it is weight loss, whether it is relationships, whether it is career, right? It's the same thing. You got to be devoted to it. You got to accept that there's going to be things that you don't like to do about it. You got to accept that there's things that are going to change. You know, whether you're in a relationship and your partner may change, your partner may fall out of love with you, your partner may fall more in love with you. You may start your career hating it or using it as a way to get money, and then you may fall in love with it. When I started my career, I said, this is a good job. This is where I go to make money. And then I fell in love with it. And then it was just like everything changed. Everything changed in 2014. I became a coder in 2008, but everything changed for me in 2014 when I had that aha moment. When I talk about that, you know, and my face kind of lights up. I see this in me because it was such a wonderful time, because then I got it. Like, I understood what it is. Like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I understand there's actually a drive here. And the more I got into it, the more I started reading, and the more smart, you know, I was able to become, because it was just like, I'm spending more time with it. You have to be devoted to it. People who are devoted to their craft or devoted to whatever are going to get better at it. You know, that's just a natural part of it. You look at like Kobe Bryant, you know, when they did a lot of those little clips about him after he died. And one of the things that stood out when they were doing one of those interviews was they said that he wasn't good when he first started playing basketball. He was bad. He didn't do very well, but then he started working out and he started getting better at it. And then now he got all these rings and everything. And he did that because he was devoted to it. And he had other people around him saying, oh, you're too young. You can't do it. Who does this guy think he is? And then he'd run circles around him because they underestimated him. Again, that underestimation can allow you to have a lot more power than you think you have. And especially if people think that you can't do it. When I was in school, and I used to hear from the other ladies, and they were older ladies than me. I was like 27 when I was in school. And they were like in, the 40s, somewhere in the 50s already. And they were like, oh yeah, my parents said I can't do it. And my old man says I can't do it. My old lady. I'm like, are you kidding me? Who does that? Who discourages people from improving their life? But people will do it simply because, they don't want that person to leave them. They don't want that person to have better opportunities, And for some spouses, I've heard from, they say, well, they just get nervous and they get jealous and, that I may meet somebody. No, guys, it's not like that. Trust me, it's not like that. You are concentrating on what you're doing. You're making a better life for yourself, your family, your kids, whoever, your pets. But you're making yourself a better life, because we only get one life, and that's it. And once it's done, it's done. Don't you want to be able to look back on your life and say, hey, I did some amazing things. I touched a lot of people. I did good works. I was a good person. Don't you want to look back on your life and say that? To me, I would like to say a lot of those things. I would like to be able to make my mom proud. My mom's been gone since 2009, and I still want to make her proud. And I'm still working to make her proud every day. I just want her to be proud of me. She was the first person I thought of when I got my CCS and my CCSP. And it was nice it's nice to get those. I wish she was here to share this with me, and that was the only thing about those moments that was missing, was her, but I know she's there with me in spirit, but it's nice that I feel still that drive to make her proud, Hi, Chrissy. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. So we are talking about motivation and knowing your credentials. And I will say this, guys. AAPC is the only one who has apprentice on their coding designations. AHIMA does not have this. So if you see somebody put a -A on an AHIMA credential, let them know. Don't let them run around like that. That's wrong. That's wrong to do that to people. And yeah, there's going to be some people who will snap at you. There was this one lady watch my channel. She's like, oh, hey, I have my own channel. Check it out. So I was like, okay, you know, I don't like to do this. I don't like to do this because, trust me, I want everything on my channel to be clean. The only one I tell everybody that I watched in the beginning before I started doing my channel was Kate, Coding with Kate. Coding with Kate hasn't put out shows in a really long time. I don't know what happened to Kate. Kate was very cool, and I liked her. I liked her energy, but I don't watch other people on purpose because, again, I don't want anybody else in my head. And this lady said CCS-A, and I said, oh no, and I wrote her, and then she got mad. She was just like, oh well, I told you I didn't know everything. No, but you're telling other people CCS-A. That's wrong. You can't do that. You know, you're misrepresenting your credential, even though you don't know. Again, you're putting out bad information. People are going to take that and they're going to run with it. And how many people saw this other person with this the thing on there wrong with a -A on an AHIMA sort of designation? How many people saw that and think that that's an actual thing? So again, know your certifications. Don't add anything extra on there that doesn't belong on there. If it doesn't show on your certificate, right? Because you will get a letter that says you have the ability to be able to add this designation to your name. Do not add anything else to it. Okay? It is just that, and that's it. You know, if you get the CCS, it is a CCS. You get the CCSP, it is a CCSP. If you get the CCA, it is a CCA. You get the RHIA, RHIA. You get the RHIT, RHIT. Period. There is no A. Okay, so don't do that. Whatever you do. Know your credentials, folks. Know your credentials. Thank you, Christina. But yeah, I see that. I'm like, no, don't do that. You know? But yeah, so. Anybody else? What's going on with y'all? What's going on with y'all? I haven't seen y'all in 6 weeks. Have y'all been studying? Who's ready to take their certification? Do we have to hold the CCA before the CCS? That's a good question, Anna. No, you do not have to hold the CCA before the CCS. However, let me explain something. The CCA is the entry level. This says that you are brand new to the field of medical coding. This says that you have studied, that you are competent enough to cover the domains of inpatient coding, outpatient coding, and all of the other administrative things, right? The CCS is the gold standard. This says that you have mastered, that you are advanced at medical coding, inpatient and outpatient, and all the other administrative things. That you know all of these things. You're advanced with HIPAA knowledge and OIG and all the other stuff that those domains say. That's what the CCS says. A lot of people will say, well, everybody talks trash about the CCA, so I don't want to sit for that, so I'm going to go immediately for the CCS. And then a lot of them fail. They fail because they are not ready, number one. You're not ready. Number two, you didn't respect the exam. Respecting the exam by knowing that it is a beast. I say, when I took the CCSP, which is a master of the outpatient setting, I'm mastered in the outpatient setting. I get that, right? Been an outpatient my whole life. So, or my career. And I had an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 20 minutes to spare. It's a 4-hour exam, hour and 10 minutes, hour and 20 minutes to spare. When I got done with the CCS exam, 8 minutes left on the clock. It's a 4-hour exam, 8 minutes. That's the difference. 8 minutes left on the clock with a CCS. That's how much time I had left. And then it would have ended, right? But I had to make sure that all my questions was answered. So I was like trying to hurry up, you know. But this with the CCSP, I was like flying because I knew all that stuff. With that CCS, people tell me all the time, Blue, I ran out of time. Because you only have 2 minutes per question average. And so if you're sitting there taking your time, you're a slow reader, you don't know your coding guidelines, you don't listen to me when I have been telling you guys to read your coding guidelines once per week, the ICD-10-CM coding guidelines that you can download from CMS and listen to for free. That's a part of it. Well, Blue, I tabbed all my books and I made all my notes in my books. Again, don't tab your books. I I tell this to people. They get mad at me. They put the down. I don't care. If you're dumbing it down for that pathetic reason, that's on you. The reason that I tell people don't put tabs on your books is because that tells me that you don't know your book like you're supposed to. If you are practicing with your books, you won't need those stupid tabs. Tabs get on my last nerve. And I have never had tabs when I was taking my first exam, the CCA, when I took the CCSP, and when I took the CCS, I did not have tabs on any of those books. When I took the CCA, I wasn't even a medical coder yet. I had been through school. I went through a self-paced study school, right? And self-paced study. I went through that, and I didn't have tabs because at the time AHIMA was very like, no, you cannot have any tabs. Didn't matter if it came with a book. Now they've kind of relaxed and said, okay, yeah, you can have it if it came with a book. And so people start putting them on there, and they're all tabbed up and they got all these notes. When you're in the exam, you don't have time to read those freaking notes. You have to respect your books. Because if I'm opening up a book and I'm in very stressful time of trying to get through this exam and I see all this writing, it's going to make me nervous. You're writing in your book for what? These books are meant as a reference, not as a workbook. That's why you have workbooks. Don't write in your books. Well, Blue, that's just how I learned. I get it. I understand that. But at the same time, if you are practicing with your books like you are supposed to, you will not have this issue, and you will use the books as the tools that they are meant to be, which is looking up codes in the book. You will recognize that there are informations in these books that will help you. If you look in your book, you will know. Blue, how many times have I heard, Blue, I didn't know that there was anatomy plates in these books. Blue, I didn't know that there was these examples at the beginning of each chapter in the Optum 360 coding books. Blue, I didn't know that all these abbreviations were in the back of the book. Okay, well, I got you there because I didn't know that. He didn't know that one either in the CPT book. But I knew that all the modifiers were listed in the front, and I knew where to find the explanations of them in the appendixes, so... let's see. Kraft says, not me. I'm taking the prerequisites for anatomy and medical terminology right now. Almost ready for the final exams, and then we'll start the CPC classes. Israel, are there other ways we can get the A taken off for CPC credential besides 2 years of experience? I'll come back to that one. Christina, I was finally able to get in-person testing. Yay, for September 10th. Mallory, I got my first medical coding job doing HCC coding. Congratulations. I'm in 5 weeks so far. And I'm hoping to one day do ER and pediatric coding. Good for you. Good for you. Anna says, so how long do you recommend holding your CCA before going for the CCS? You're getting a lot of congratulations there, Mallory. So 2 years. But even then, you need to be actively coding for those 2 years that you're a CCA. You need to be actively working with the workbooks and practicing so that way that you can fully understand and you can get into these advanced case studies and things like that. And you'll know and you'll start to read faster. That's what I recommend. If you are going to go for that CCA first and then you want to sit for the CCS, that you need to be actively coding. And 2 years of additional study time like that is going to set you up for success to be able to pass that CCS. I'm just saying. And for you, Israel, are there other ways that we can have the A taken off the CPC besides the 2 years of experience? Okay. You don't have to accelerate the removal of the A. People say that all the time. Well, I don't want to wait 2 years. Well, what are you in a rush for? Did you get a job? Yeah. Okay. Well, then what's the big deal? You have a job. Why are you trying to rush to get the A off for? It's going to come off in 2 years. But if you want to go ahead and get a rush on it, you can get 1 year taken off of the 2-year time commitment by going through Practicode. Practicode is a AAPC educational product. It does not count as 1 year of work experience, but it is considered 1 year of what a coder would experience in the first year. It's 660 charts, right? Or 660 encounters that you got to work through in order to say, okay, I've done this, so they take a year off. So if you've been working a year and then you pay that money for Practicode, I think it's like 299 or 259, something like that. If you're a member, like 259, and then if you're not a member, it's 299. So almost like $300. To me, it's I mean, it's a good educational product. It's not necessary. That's just more money that you're spending. It does nothing other than accelerate the removal by 1 year. And if you're working concurrently, then you can get it removed in a year. If you are going through an AAPC approved program, plus you pay to do that Practicode, then you can, when you take your exam, then you'll be able to have the CPC with no A. So I've heard of that as well. So, you know. Let's see. All right. I don't know what you're saying stupid for, so I'm going to remove your stupid message. And you say anything dumb again, I'm going to block you. So, but yeah, so that's what you have to do if you want to get that accelerated thing removed or whatever. You can do that. And for specialty like pediatric or OBGYN, do you? No, I do not. You do not need it. All these other ones, certified outpatient, OBGYN coder, certified, orthopedic coder, certified, all these other ones, specialty ones. No, you don't need them. Why? Because when you look in the job listings, are they asking for them? No, they're not. And this just says that you have another credential. Okay, that you're going to have to pay more money for because you have to pay to take the exam. You have to be able to pay to take the CEUs for that certification, because not all certifications will accept all CEUs. So some will have you have specific ones, like the one for the CPMA. You have to have ones that are specific for auditing, and those cost more. Those are not free. Those cost more. And so that's where you have to go for those things. So, anyway, so that's where you have to watch what you're getting. So I tell people all the time, when you want to get like all these ones for like pediatrics and OBGYN, look and see if they're asking for those, and they're not. Why are you going to spend more money to get credentials that you don't need when your credential already says that you could do that? Your CPC already says that you know how to code OBGYN, and knows that you know how to code ortho and all these other ones, all these other little specialty ones. Billing, you don't need a credential for that either, because you're tested on reimbursement. All the medical coding certifications test you on reimbursement. So again, why are you going to do that? Now, taking additional courses to supplement your knowledge, that's something different. But when you start adding on credentials that, again, they're duplicating what you're saying already with the one credential, again, you're just spending more money, and for what? And some of them are, Christina, some of them are dual credentialed through both of them. Some have their degrees and some have their blah, 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 and so that's okay. If you are adding on additional credentials and they are for different things, that's okay. As far as like, and they're being asked for. Like if I was to get the CCDSO, right, which is the CDI for outpatient from Actis, right? That's that credential. That makes sense to me. Because, and that makes sense when I have it on my name, right? Because if I got it, because that says that I know specifically CDI for outpatient. If I said that I wanted to get the CCDS, that says I know for inpatient side. Okay, so again, that's something different from my credentials that I have, the CCSP and the CCS, something completely different. If I was to get the degree, that would say something different. The RHIA, that's something different from my medical coding credentials. So those are the things that you need to look at. Don't get these unnecessary credentials just to spend more money because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Or you say, oh, this person has all these credentials and I want to get all of these things. I can have one credential and still run circles around other people. What matters in the end is not what you showboating, but what you know. And trust me, with the CCA, I train doctors, I train nurses, I train degree holders, I train other people with credentials that were technically higher than mine. So again, you don't need all these other additional credentials because all you're doing is spending more money. Well, Blue, medical coders make good money, that's why. And if I have all these credentials, it will make me more marketable and I'll get more money. No, it won't. Because please, I'm challenging you all to find me a job listing that says candidate must have multiple credentials to get this job. What are they asking for? They're asking for experience, and they're asking for you to have one certification. One. Candidate must have AHIMA or AAPC, or candidate must have CCA, CCS, CCSP, or a CPC. And sometimes I see CIC as well, you know. There you go. All right, Anna. Yeah, that's already going to say that you know. And again, you don't have to be specialized. My favorite specialty is orthopedics and podiatry. Do you see me getting a specialty credential for orthopedics and podiatry? No, I don't have to have it. I don't need it. Because I don't need something that says, oh, she's a specialty orthopedic coder. No. What I need to show is that I'm proficient and competent in what I'm doing. The CCSP, when I first got it, says that. The CCS also says that I can do it. Because it tests you on those domains, you know, for the coding, you know. But people get wrapped up in that and they think, when I see all those, it doesn't give me confidence that the person knows anything or that they're so proficient. Now, granted, some are, but not all of them. Some of them are just doing it to collect those different credentials just to say that they have a bunch of different credentials after their name. Oh, I'm this and I'm that and I'm this and I'm that. And I say, okay, well, I mean, none of those places are asking for you to have all of that. How much money are you spending a year to be able to maintain those? How many CEUs do you need to report? Because trust me, I would rather be able to spend my money on things that I want. Going on vacation, you know, on my car, on, you know, buying clothes and, you know, putting money away. I mean, that's what I would rather spend my money on. I'm not going to sit here and give it to somebody who's aligning the pocket of a corporate organization. Not going to do it. You know, AHIMA is very powerful. They do a lot of things. They got a lot of power up on Capitol Hill. So that's the thing. But they're going to get my money, yes, but it doesn't mean that I need to give them everything just to be a member of their organization. It's the same thing with if you're with AAPC. Look at what you're making in a year. And do you need all these other additional credentials when you're just doing, you know, clinic coding or whatever, and there's no extra incentive for you to get all these additional credentials? Because the only reason that you want to get them is so that you can keep up with the Joneses. Again, what happens when you try to keep up with the Joneses? They ain't worried about you. They're worried about themselves. Now, you don't know other people's financial situation and the fact that maybe they have somebody else to support them. But you never know. So that's why you always have to be smart with your money. You know, as a single woman, I have to be very smart with my money. I have to be willing to put all this money away that I need to put away because I got to take care of me. There's nobody that can take care of me but me. So, and even if you're with somebody, even if you're married or whatever, you still need to save for catastrophic events. You know, something could happen, you know, and so you need to be able to be prepared. There's so many people that are living paycheck to paycheck, and we don't have to live that way, guys. We don't. And so it's about being smart. It's about being strategic. It's about looking at, yes, we work in an expensive field, and we need money to be able to support this field. But there comes a point where I'm not going to sit here and put all these credentials after my name. And for what? These other ones that are unnecessary after my name? Every single additional credential that I'm going to get is going to be strategic. And it's going to say something different. So, again, when you look at all the additional credentials that you're looking at getting, right? I've seen people who got the CPMA and still had the CPCA. You haven't even been a coder yet for 2 years and you already got the CPMA? What sense does that make? What are you doing? What are you going to do with it? Oh, I don't know. I just took the test because they told me. Well, I'm telling you now. I'm not here to sell you anything. So if you're going to spend your money, be wise about it. Don't spend it on unnecessary things. If you're going to spend extra money, spend it on a class that may help you to learn more. Medical terminology class or an anatomy class, especially if you feel lost on anatomy. Spend it on that. It's $200 or $300. Okay, that's $200 or $300 that's well spent. You can learn it from a book. I keep telling y'all that. Some of y'all don't want to listen to me on that. So, okay, you want to spend $200 or $300? Go ahead. But at least you're learning something. And at least that knowledge will help you a lot faster with the coding, which is more important than showboating your name. Does that make sense? Am I talking crazy? Yeah, so wherever your path leads you in coding, I hope you all do well. It's a hard road, guys, especially if you're going to make it more difficult for yourself. But I'm telling you, make it easier for yourself. You don't have to announce everything. You don't have to tell everybody everything. And you don't have to take every single credential just because it's in front of you, okay? Be strategic about it. If you're going to go for something, if you're going to start investing all this money, if you want to be in a leadership position, then go for the degree programs. Make sure they're CAHIMA approved, though, Anna says, been a biller for 5 years, so would you recommend me taking medical terminology and yes, I do. Yes, I do, because billers don't often know that part. I mean, they can kind of like get around. They know enough to get around. And for billers, they'll see like, okay, well, this claim, gets paid because this diagnosis is here and this procedure is here. So I know these two can go together. But when you're looking at it from the coding standpoint, now you're having to actually interpret what's happening. So there's a huge difference, and sometimes the difference is subtle. Sometimes the difference is subtle because you can have a person who has a sprain of their shoulder, and they can say that it's a torn labrum, right? And then they can say, oh, they specifically have a slap. Do you know there's 2 different codes? One for a unspecified type sprain, and then there's one for a slap. But it needs to say, then that's the where they talk about anterior to posterior tear. So, so superior labor. But see, that's where you have to know your medical terminology. And if you don't know your medical terminology, then you suffer. Because it's not just about knowing the basic stuff. It is about getting advanced with it. So yes, I do absolutely recommend taking anatomy and physiology. And that studying the disease process will really help you, because when it comes to the disease process, it's not always clear. And it does get a little confusing, especially if you haven't taken the time to learn it. Just saying. But if you want to go for your CCA, let me go ahead and show you what book I recommend. Now, I always leave the names of the books that I have on my in the description box. This is a book, the American Hospital Association ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS with the answers. Yes, it is a 2019 book. Yes, there have been some updates, but it's not so drastic that the book is invalid. I do recommend this book. This is the book that I use to help me study for the CCSP. It was the diagnosis part, and the CCS, which is, I use the ICD-10-CM and the ICD-10-PCS. So I do recommend studying with this book. It's got the answers to it. It's got scenarios for the emergency room, and it's got different scenarios in the back. So it does explain these things, and this is a good workbook. It's the American Hospital Association. I remember that I recommend this one over any other publisher, AHIMA or Bucks or any of those. So that's what I recommend on that one. This one, the CPC. Yes, I recommend the CPC study guide for the AHIMA exams, the CCA, the CCS, or the CCSP. Now, before you say, well, Blue, that doesn't make any sense. This covers outpatient. CPC covers all outpatient coding. So this is going to cover your CPT manual. And this is a good book to study with. And I had somebody who said, well, Blue, my friend says that that's not the book to study with, that you need to study. Okay, you know what? I use this book to study with. I passed these exams, the CCS and CCSP, on the first try. So I wouldn't recommend something that's not going to help you guys. And the other thing that the other lady was saying, it didn't even make sense. Again, unconscious incompetence. So if you want to study with this book, the AAPC does a good job with the study guide of breaking things down Barney style. Really good job of breaking it down. Very user friendly for beginners. Again, I don't like books because I have books. I actually have her book there on my shelf here. I don't like them because I feel like when you're reading it, it feels like the person already needs to know how to code. That's what it feels like to me. And so if I'm a beginner, I'm not going to recommend this for somebody who's beginning because, again, this already seems advanced to me. And so when I get something like that when I got my hands on that CPC book, I was like kind of surprised because, I was like, wow, I like the way this is broken down. And so that's why I started recommending it for anybody who was taking any medical coding certification exam, because it covers that CPT manual and it has those scenarios in it that you can practice with. And it does give you the rationale. Now, there are a couple of codes on there that I didn't agree with, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world, right? But for the most part, it'll get you there. It'll get you there. It'll get you to understand. And once you've been studying for a while, you kind of know what I mean, It's an Amazon card. Good. I'm glad. Okay. So those are some books that I recommend, especially those two, because they're very comprehensive. And I wouldn't recommend them if they were a waste of people's time. But as you can see, and this isn't all of them, I love books. I really do. And so this is why I have a hard time going to book sites like Optum 360 Coding, which Optum was playing games with me earlier, which I did not appreciate because it didn't show the sale. Okay, so Optum 360, when the website works, it has the 55% off the 2022 editions. Now you can use the 2022 editions up for AHIMA, for the AHIMA exams, up until April of the following year. So if you get the 2022 books this year, you can use them all the way up until April of 2023. Now, once it hits May 1st, that's when they go into the 2023 code sets. And that's when you have to use the 2023 editions for your exams if you're taking it after May 1st. Okay, May 1st and on, that's going to be 2023. But you have time to use the 2022 editions into 2023 if you are taking an AHIMA exam. If you are taking the chair makes creaky noises when I move in it. When you are taking an AAPC exam, they say that yes, if you want to use the 2022 book into 2023, you can. However, if the code has been updated, you may not find it in your book. Now, AAPC is all multiple choice. So you may see a code on there, and if it's been updated, it's not going to be in your book, and you're like, oh crap, which one do I pick? That's when you're going to have to use your process of elimination to figure that kind of stuff out. However, if you want to use it, it's not going to be so drastic that it's not going to make sense to you. So you can, at any time, use the books the year before. But if you get the 2023 books this year, and you try to sit for an AAPC exam in 2022 and you try to use the 2023, you can't do that because they will not allow you to take the next year books into the previous year. Okay, you can only take the previous year books into the next year. Okay, so if that makes sense to you guys. Now, I've heard of people say, well, I'm using my old book, but I went through the CMS website where they have all the updates and I made note of all the updated codes, and they do that in their books. So that's okay. If you want to do that, take the time to do that, write that in there. That I can see you writing. That's okay. But it's all this other excessive writing kerfuffle that I kind of tell people don't do. So but yeah, so that's where you can figure that stuff out. Amazon is great for finding books. Abe Books, ABE books.com is another great place to find cheap books. Okay, so that's another resource for you. A lot of times they're going to be very discounted, so that's a good place to find additional study books if you are looking at that. If you don't find it on Amazon, Amazon kind of got sneaky on me. And that AHA book got really expensive at one time. I think they brought the price back down, but everybody was saying it was because of me, because people were ordering it left and right. I was like, really? Was that necessary for you to raise the price? But whatever, they saw, that price, that book being sold all over the place, so they were like, okay, well, we gotta raise the price on this one. What is it? Capitalism. So whatever, what are you gonna do? All right. But yes, so that's my message for today. And I hope you guys, when you get to those times when you are feeling like, is this worth it? It is. All that blood, sweat, and tears, yeah, it is. You're gonna feel that pain. You're gonna feel that pain of like, oh man. But when you feel pain, that's just weakness leaving the body. That's all it is. It's gonna make you a stronger person. And people need to be stronger. People need to have that, that get up and go and do things to improve themselves. If you're not working on yourself, like, if you say to me, Blue, I get really shy and nervous talking to people. Oh, trust me, I was there. I was there. Oh, I used to be there. So when I did so I did classes before, but when we moved into the new hospital here at my permanent coding home, the first time we had to be in the clinic, and this is for orthopedics and podiatry. I had a partner at the time, and the first time we had to be in front of them, I was so nervous. I told my partner, I can't do this. I can't do this. I was like starting to hyperventilate. I was like, I can't. She was, it's okay. Just calm down. Now you have to keep in mind, these doctors are around my age, okay? And now she's older. She's mid 50s at the time. And so she was like, oh no, it'll be okay. I'm like, I'm nervous. I can't. I said, you go first and then I'll go. And then I was just like, at first when I was speaking, I was like, kind of like talking low, and I was like, no. I was like, and I kept telling myself, I have to get comfortable. I'm like, they're not gonna get my information if I'm so uncomfortable, and they see this. So I said, okay. I was like, come on, Blue, you can do this. So I started to get relaxed and be like more myself, and so I was like, okay. If you watch any of my very first videos in the beginning, you'll know what I'm talking about, because I was nervous in those videos too. And now it's just like, I'll talk to y'all. Y'all are like my friends anyway. So, but anyway, so I started to watch TED Talks about how to present yourself and how to speak and how to get the audience's attention and things like that. And that was putting more emphasis and work on myself. And now my communication with them is much more smooth, and it's a lot more clear and open, and they're learning a lot from me, and they wouldn't know those things if I hadn't worked on me to improve me so that I could be better for them. Anna says, for AHIMA, can we use last year's book? No. Anna says, thanks for the motivation and the tips, needed it, can't wait to start my program. That's awesome. But yeah, no, you have to use the specific books that they say. If they, we're in 2022 editions right now, because again, it's after May 1st. So we are in the current year books, and we will be in the current year book, the 2022 books, up until April of 2023. Once it turns May 1st, you will be in the 2023 editions. Okay. And that's the way that the AHIMA does things, With AHIMA, you're taking your exam through Pearson VUE. So there's Pearson VUE testing centers everywhere. And once you've been approved to take your exam with AHIMA, they will set you up with Pearson VUE. Then you schedule through Pearson VUE. And when you're taking your exam, one thing you got to know is that you have to answer the question, and then it'll let you move on. You cannot flag, and you cannot go back on your questions. So keep that in mind. And then everybody who's in Pearson VUE is not a medical coder, and they are taking different exams. Some are there for teaching exams, some are there for plumber, some are there for real estate exams. So it really all depends, and everybody has different test time limits and stuff like that. The medical coding exams are some of the longest ones that they see, so that's just something to keep in mind when you are scheduling these exams, and what you got to know when you're taking your test. So, all right. I still got a good little crowd going. All right. All right. So, but yeah, that's my message for today. Stay motivated, y'all. Stay motivated. It's not always going to be the funnest thing. You're not always going to get joy from it. Because trust me, there was some days when I was like cussing and going on, you know. I keep the language clean on here, but trust me, when I'm studying, sometimes it's just like, argh. Especially when I have to study that PCS book. Because not knowing the inpatient side of the house, not actively coding on the inpatient side of the house really kind of messed me up. So I had to really kind of study harder for that one. And the great thing about Optum 360 is in their PCS book, which you can use this book to take the AHIMA exam as well, because you need three books when you're taking the CCA or the CCS. You need the ICD-10 CM, the CPT Professional Edition, and you need the ICD-10 PCS manual. Now, this is the one that I recommend is from Optum. And obviously, this is the 2021 edition, so not this one, but the 2022 if you're taking it this year up until April next year. But the Optum 360 coding, the one with the spiral, because there's one with the flat side. You can't use that one for the test, but you can use the one with the spiral. The thing I love about Optum, in the back, in Appendix M, they have like a test where you have all of these procedures that you can look up. Then in the next appendix, in Appendix N, like in Nancy, they have all of the answers to Appendix M questions. So that was how I practiced my PCS coding. And it was a good thing I did, because practicing, going through the book and stuff like it made me more comfortable with the book. And you have to be comfortable with your books before you get into that exam room. If you are not comfortable, if you do not know how to get around in these books, you're going to suffer on your test. I'm just saying. So I have recommended that you all make sure that you flip each and every single page so that you know where everything is in the book, and you know how to find like all the additional things that will help you. All of the appendixes, you know where they are, you know where all of your anatomy plates are at, so in case you get stuck, you know, you don't have to waste time memorizing things that you don't need to when the information's already in the book. I'm just saying, you just got to learn how to use the book. But yeah, so let me look at the calendar here. Do you use both ICD-10, CM, and CPT when coding one chart? If you're in the outpatient setting, yes. If you are not doing risk adjustment, if you're doing risk adjustment, then you're only using the ICD-10 CM book. If you are coding clinic encounters, like outpatient clinic encounters, they have E&M on them or whatever, you will have to use both books, yes. And in some instances, you'll have to use the HCPCS book as well. And that has like medicines in it, and it also has like the durable medical equipment. So like if you're in a podiatry clinic and they issue like a set of inserts, you can pick up that HCPCS code if that's applicable to that situation. Then yeah, you would be able to use those. So sometimes you will have to use multiple books in order to get through one encounter. Yes. Mm-hmm. All right, so the 27th will be the Friday of the month that I do the live, so I will be back for a Friday live. This was just a bonus Friday the 13th episode because I thought that would be really cool. And if you saw the little thumbnail with the cat, I like that one. I was like, that's so cute. And it's not all black cat. It has a little white patch of hair too, so it's okay. You know, it's not a completely black cat. But I will be back for a live. You're welcome. I will be back for a live on the 27th at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll get back into the one live per month. This was just a makeup for April, which I did not do a live at the end of April like I was supposed to. Again, April was just a busy month, and there was just a break that I needed to take because I needed to adjust my schedule, and it's been a very good thing that I had to do. Sometimes you have to do that. You know, I have some people that are upset with me because I didn't get back to them on their email as quickly as they wanted. And guys, you have to remember, I mean, I have a full 40-hour-a-week job, and I run not just a YouTube channel, but a Patreon channel as well. And Patreon, they do a lot for me. They're helping me with a lot of things just by supporting me there. And so I have to make sure that I do exercises for them and be with them and spend the time with them. So that was me putting the oxygen mask on myself and taking care of me so that I can be better for all of you. Tracy says, thank you for helping keeping us motivated, Blue. You're welcome. All right, guys. So I will be back on the 27th of May for the normal 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you haven't had a chance to like this video, I hope that you do. Oh, I got 18 likes. Thank you, guys. Do y'all love that little, like the little party thing that happens when you hit that like button? I like that. When I noticed that YouTube started doing that, I was like, oh, that's cool, you know. But if you have any suggestions for videos, let me know. There's over 800 videos, so I probably have done it. But if I haven't done it in a while, I'll go ahead and do another episode about it again. But yeah, like I was saying, sometimes people get upset at me. Guys, I mean, I answer 98% of my emails. So, I mean, I think that's pretty good. And I'm not going to give myself a hard time about not getting back to everybody. So, I appreciate y'all's support. I appreciate you being here. This has been a wonderful chat. Thank you all so much. And again, thank you to Tressa for this awesome t-shirt. Don't underestimate yourselves, people. Okay? You can do anything. You can be what you want to do. Do whatever you want to do. But you have to have discipline, guys, and you can do it. Just got to stick with it. Do you offer tutoring? Yes, I do. My tutoring is $35 an hour currently. You can contact me at medicalcodingwithbleu@gmail.com. My email address is in the description box below. What we do is we meet over Zoom for an hour. That's the fee is $35. If you need additional time, of course, obviously. We meet over Zoom and we go over whatever questions that you have. Sometimes people just need it as a supplement to, like, I need to help understanding like diagnosis coding, or I need help understanding procedure coding or whatever. I can do CPT and ICD-10 PCS as well. So that's, you know, that's what I offer there. If you join Patreon, I think it's a $25 level. You get 1 hour included of tutoring time per month, or one-on-one time, whatever you want. That's a benefit of being on Patreon. Plus, you get access to all of the exercises that I post for my Patreons, and it'll be puzzles. Sometimes it's critical thinking. Sometimes it's just a list of like questions and things like that. I do have a guest speaker. This is my first guest speaker for my Patreon channel. So Brandon is going to be speaking for pediatric coding. So he is the Generation Z coder. This guy graduated high school and got his medical coding certification. And he currently has his CCS credential as well. He was named the 2021 AHIMA Rising Star Award. So I am very proud of him and I'm very excited. He will be speaking on my Patreon channel next weekend at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm very excited about that. And then the week after that, I'm going to be doing Patreon Jeopardy with my Patreons. And what that is we play Jeopardy, basically. And there's different categories. And I've had like, so you want to be a medical coder. And I had, what is it? Like medical terminology and anatomy and that kind of thing. And I asked these questions. And then the winner at the end with the most points is, you know, gets a gift card and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. I have enjoyed coming up with these questions and it's just a good way to study, kind of a break from the norm, you know. It's just something different, more creative with the word searches and things like that I post on there. You have access to all of that when you subscribe to my Patreon channel. And people like word searches better than the crossword puzzles. Crossword puzzles was how I learned how to do medical terminology because to me the clues and then putting them in the words in the boxes and things like that, that really did help. But that's how I learned, and you know that I have to thank my mom for that. She would do those for me, and so that was really awesome. So now I'm sharing it with all of you. But yeah, that's what I do on there. And sometimes I'll do like a breakdown of like explaining, like if there's something that was difficult that I posted and people are asking about it, I'll explain it in further detail. So that's what I do on my Patreon channel. I like it, and I share stories about myself. I will share stories that I don't share here on YouTube. I talk about like my own personal stuff and my own life and things like that, because the audience is smaller with Patreon, and I know who's watching me. But that's what I do there. Um, Jess says, thank you. Do you do real world cases? I do Profi. That's a professional rounds coding. I miss that it was called that. We used to call it that too, rounds coding. But yeah, I've done that. 99221 to 99223, and then the discharge 99239. 99221, 99222, 99223. Yeah, so yeah, I know how to do those. Anna says, can you cancel the subscription at any time? So you only have to subscribe a month. I mean, if you want to cancel at the end of the month, that's totally fine. It does charge you on the 1st. Everybody gets charged on the 1st. So if you sign up on the 20th and you don't cancel before the end of the month, they will charge you again on the 1st. So yeah, you don't have to keep subscribing. You can cancel at any time, but it will give you access till the end of the month if you pay. The minimum pledge right now is $10. So I mean, I think it's pretty good for all the things that you can download off of there and all the videos that you can watch. But and I will share like websites that I find that are helpful for studying with my Patreons. But yeah, absolutely, I am grateful for any support because it takes a lot. I mean, you have to, like, when you subscribe to Patreon, it's like you're paying for that content though. That's why I try to make it worth it. And anybody that subscribes now, you have like access to like hundreds of quizzes and exercises and stuff like that. I think it's a great deal. But again, if you only want to subscribe for a month, hey, I'm grateful either way. I don't give people a hard time just because you subscribe for 1 month and you cancel at the end of the month. That's fine. But some people just want to see it. Some people just want to support, which is great for me too. I use that money to further my education, and that's basically what I do with it. Last year, my Patreons were responsible for paying for both of my certification exams and my membership dues to AHIMA, and me being able to attend the TEXHIMA conference as well. So there's a lot of things that I do with that money to invest back into myself so that I can be better for you all. And so that's what I do with my Patreon money. And it's great, but it is what it is, and that's what I do. So I hope everybody gets some joy out of it. At least I hope they do. I have some longtime subscribers on Patreon, which I'm grateful for. But whether you subscribe for 1 month or you subscribe for a year, it doesn't really matter to me. I am grateful either way. Jess says, emailing you now. Okay. And then Anna, okay, cool. May need all the help I can get. Awesome. Okay, that's great. But yes, so does anybody else have anything else? Because we're doing good on time. So I used to get after myself because these lives get long, and people would say, oh, Blue, your lives are getting like 2 hours. I know, but when people come on and we start talking and I get all fired up, it's hard to stop the conversation. There is a channel. So I started to stop feeling bad because there is a channel called Think Like a Horse, right? This guy, Rick, he is hysterical. But Rick, if you ever watch the channel, you know what I mean. Rick is, you think I'm blunt? I am nothing compared to Rick. Rick will tell you like it is. Now, Rick used to be a cop. He used to be in the military. He trained dogs in the military. Did a lot of cool things. He has a lot of awesome stories, but he works with animals. He likes horses and things like that. So he's very in tune to horses, and that's how he shares on his channel. So some of his lives, they go for hours, like 3, 4, 5 hours. There was one that was like 4 hours that I saw, 5 hours, and I'm like, oh, now I don't feel bad, But sometimes I'll turn him on and listen to him. And I'll be cracking up because some of the things that he says, like, he does not care. And he is so smart. He is the reason that I say now some people have that unconscious incompetence. Because when he explained it, I'm like, that's exactly what happens. Like, people think they know and they don't know. So you have conscious incompetence and unconscious incompetence. Now, for me, when I say that I have conscious incompetence, is because I know I don't know. When I have unconscious incompetence, it means that I think that I know and I don't know. It's like when I first heard about medical coding and my case manager says, oh, do you want to learn medical coding? I said, oh, I don't do nothing with needles, because I was convinced that anything having to do with medical had everything to do with needles, and I was not about that life. And then he goes, no, it's reading, but anyway. It says, Anna says, do you prep for exam tutoring? Yes, I do. I've done it many times already. And basically when we're getting ready for exams, whether you're going for AHIMA or AAPC, and even though I'm not certified with AAPC, I've helped and coached many people who've taken the CPC exam. It's all the same. Like, the idea and the thought process is the same. There's going to be differences between the two, yes. As far as like what I tell you all to like kind of focus on, if like you're looking at like the domains, like, okay, where do you find these resources? Okay, because there's not one particular book that will help you. With AHIMA, when you're taking an AHIMA exam, they focus on comprehension, and they focus on understanding. Okay, rather than memorization of like, oh, you do this one and that and that, and it's not multiple. Well, it's not like where you can just pick it up. It's that you gotta know what you're doing when you take an AHIMA exam. I'm just saying. All right. Okay, so people are starting to drop like flies now. I know it's probably time to wrap it up, but yes. But again, I do not feel bad for having long shows, because I'm not the only one who does long shows. But anyway, I am going to go ahead and wrap this one up. But thank you all for joining me. It's been a nice visit. I'm so glad that all of you have been here. I appreciate all the thumbs up. I appreciate the likes and the shares. Keep studying. Stay motivated. You can do it. All right. And I will see y'all next time. Bye.